Welcome to Preliminary, the LanguageCert International ESOL A1 level spoken qualification, and it of course focuses on the candidate's spoken skills. The exam consists of 4 parts, all of them assessing language based on practical experience and everyday English. The candidates are initially asked to share personal information and then, during the second part, asked to participate in a situational role play. During the third part, they participate in an interactive communicative task along with their interlocutor. Finally, in part 4, they are expected to produce a long turn after they have been given a topic and some time to prepare their response. Follow-up questions conclude this last part of the exam and the spoken exam itself. The exam setup is friendly as each candidate is examined individually, not with another candidate. The session is led by an interlocutor who does not assess the candidate but conducts the spoken exam in accordance with all LanguageCert regulations. The whole session is recorded in digital format, uploaded to our examinations platform and sent to a fully trained independent LanguageCert assessor to be marked. Remarking is available whenever required and the pass mark is an overall 50%. Part 1 aims to initially set the candidate at ease and elicit personal information. The first 2 questions, which aim at eliciting the candidate's name, spelling, and where he or she is from, are not assessed. However, the next questions are assessed and the candidate will be asked between 3 and 5 questions. Part 1 lasts 1 minute and a half. Part 2 requires the candidate to take part in a situational role play. The aim of this task is for the candidate to use functional language in a range of real-life situations. The candidate is presented with 2 or 3 situations, and both the interlocutor and the candidate need to produce at least 2 turns each time. Part 2 lasts 1 minute. In Part 3, the candidate and the interlocutor give and receive information in order to perform a communicative task. Without looking at each other's picture, they need to spot the differences by means of questions and answers. The duration of this part is 1 minute and a half. The fourth part of the spoken exam aims at assessing the candidate's ability to speak at greater length with minimal participation by the interlocutor. The candidate is given a topic, asked to prepare a response in half a minute, and then talk about it for half a minute. Then, a few related follow-up questions conclude the exam. This last part of the spoken exam lasts 2 minutes. Part 1, as mentioned before, aims at setting the candidate at ease and eliciting personal information about him or her. As the first 2 questions, which aim at eliciting the candidate's name, spelling, and where he or she is from, are not assessed, it is the next questions that will be assessed. The first assessed question asked may be to share with the interlocutor what time he or she gets up in the morning, followed by another question about his or her best friend. The duration of this part of the exam is 1.5 minutes. The candidate will be asked between 3 and 5 questions. Part 2 requires the candidate to take part in a situational role play. He or she will be asked to take part in 2 or 3 situations. Both the candidate and the interlocutor need to produce approximately 2 turns each during each situation. The candidate needs to ask or respond according to the interlocutor's instructions. Here we can see an example where the interlocutor sets the following situation. I work in a shop selling t-shirts. I start. What color do you want? The interlocutor initiates the situation, and both the candidate and the interlocutor need to produce approximately 2 turns. Then, the interlocutor provides a second situation, where this time it is the candidate who has to start. An example of the type of situation initiated by the candidate might be similar to this one. We meet at a party. You don't know my name. It's very hot and the window is closed. You start. Here again, both the candidate and the interlocutor need to produce approximately 2 turns. If there is time left, the interlocutor may present a third situation, which might be taken from the first set of situations or from the second set. The duration of this second part of the spoken exam is 1 minute. Part 3. In the third part of the spoken exam, the candidate and the interlocutor exchange information to perform a communicative task. The candidate is asked to identify the similarities and differences between his or her picture and the interlocutor's picture by asking and answering questions. The duration of this part is 1 minute and a half. The last part of the spoken exam, Part 4, is a long turn and assesses the candidate's ability to speak at greater length with minimal participation by the interlocutor. The interlocutor chooses a topic. Here, the first topic of this set of topics asks the candidate to say what he or she watches on television and talk about it for half a minute. The candidate is provided with a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and also 30 seconds to prepare his or her response. After the candidate's response, up to 4 related follow-up questions will conclude this part and the spoken exam itself. If the chosen topic is, for instance, what do you watch on television? The follow-up questions might be, who do you watch television with? Where do you watch television? The overall duration of this last part of the exam is 2 minutes. You can find more information about our spoken exam in our qualification handbook on our website. Candidates are assessed in terms of 4 criteria. Task fulfillment and coherence, that is, the candidate's ability to manage the tasks adequately for the level and link the utterances into coherent speech. Accuracy and range of grammar, in other words, the candidate's ability to demonstrate a range and control of grammar. Accuracy and range of vocabulary, which relates to his or her ability to demonstrate a range and control of vocabulary. And lastly, pronunciation, intonation, and fluency, which measures the candidate's ability to connect utterances, maintain the flow, and engage in effective communicative exchanges. Candidates are awarded up to 3 marks per criterion and collect up to 12 marks. The candidate's raw score out of 12 is translated into a scale score out of 50, and successful candidates are those who attain at least 50% of the overall scale score, that is, at least 25 marks out of 50. If they do exceptionally well and collect more than 34 marks, they will be awarded a high pass. Here are some pages from the Interlocutor's Questions booklet, the pages on the left, and there's the candidate's task sheet on the right. For more information on this component of the exam and for support materials, simply follow this link.